Good morning everybody, this is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It's June the 20th and our reading is in Job chapter 28. He begins in verse 1, he says, "Surely there is a vein for the silver and a place for gold where they find it. Iron is taken out of the earth and brass is molten out of stone." What Job is doing here, he's describing things that are the very limit of human knowledge. He says, iron is taken out of the earth and brass is molten out of the stone. He sets an end to darkness and searches out all perfection, the stones of darkness and the shadow of death. The flood breaketh out from the inhabitant, even the waters forgotten of the foot, they are dried up, they are gone away from men. As for the earth, out of the earth comes bread, and under it is turned up as it were fire. The stones of it were the place of sapphires, and it has dust of gold. There is a path that no man knoweth, and which the vulture's eye hath not seen. The lion's whelps have not trodden it, nor this fierce lion passed by it. He putteth forth his hand upon the rock. He overturneth the mountains by the roots. He cutteth out rivers among the rocks. His eye sees every precious thing. He bindeth the floods from overflowing, and the thing that is hid he brings forth to light. But these are all the things that God does. But where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Now that's a great thing, isn't it? He says, man knows the price of it, neither is it found in the land of the living. The depth says, it's not in me, and the sea said, it is not in me. It cannot be bought for gold, neither can silver be weighed for the price of wisdom. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, with the precious onyx or sapphire. The gold and the crystal cannot equal it, and the exchange of it shall not be for jewels of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. Now you know, this book here is very reminiscent of the book of Proverbs, where Solomon and others too bring together the very height of human wisdom and knowledge. In fact, I wonder sometimes whether Solomon was quoting from Job. He says, the topaz of Ethiopia shall not equal it, neither shall it be valued with pure gold. Where then cometh wisdom? Where is the place of understanding, seeing it is hid from the eyes of all living, and kept close from the fowls of the air? Destruction and death say, we've heard about it. We've heard about it with our ears. God understandeth the way thereof, and he knows the place where wisdom is found. He looks to the ends of the earth, and sees under the whole heaven, to make the weight for the winds. He weighs the water by measure. Then he made a decree for the rain, and a way for the lightning of the thunder. Then did he see it and declare it. He prepared it. Yes, he searched it out. But unto man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and departing from evil is understanding. Now that's my password for today. This is the very height of understanding in the covenants. You see, in the covenants, they didn't have a salvation as Christians experience, but they did have a relationship with God. God always has a relationship with all men. And here in the life of Job, who wasn't in the old covenant of Moses, he is in the covenant of Noah. And he realizes that the fear of the Lord, that's where wisdom commences. When some man fears God, then he has taken the first step on a journey to wisdom. And he says to depart from evil is understanding. You see, when a man looks up to heaven and he sees God, and he is afraid of God, because God will judge wicked men. And he then applies that to his life, and he puts away evil from his life. That is correct understanding. That is understanding. So then, chapter 29, Job remembers his former days and how glorious it was. He says, "Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness, as I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me, when I washed my steps with butter, and the rocks poured out rivers of oil. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, the young men saw me and hid themselves." You see, the young men who were wild hid themselves from Job. You see, and the aged men rose and stood up. You see, the princes refrained from talking, laid their hands upon their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me. When the eye saw me, it gave witness to me. Because, and this is the description now of a righteous man under the law of Noah, because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help him. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me. I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness. It clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind, and feet was I to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out. And I broke the jaws of the wicked, and plucked the spoil out of his teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest. I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. My glory was fresh in me, and my bow was renewed in my hand. Unto me men gave ear, and waited, and kept silent at my counsel. After my words they spake not again, and my speech dropped upon them. And they waited for me as the rain, they opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. If I laughed on them, they believed it not, and the light of my countenance they cast not down. I chose out of their way, and sat chief, and dwelt as a king in his army, as one that comforted the mourners. That's the life that Job had before this great tragedy came into his life. Chapter 30, he says, but now. And that little phrase, but now, that is a testimony to what can go on in the life of a man. He said, people were silent when I spoke. Young men were afraid of me. Widows loved me because I delivered them. The blind were led by me. Kings rose up in my presence. But now, you see, his life has been brought low by the Lord. He says, but now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Yea, whereunto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine they are solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes, and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the mountains, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And now I am their song. Yea, I am their byword. They abhor me. They flee far from me. They do not spare to spit in my face. Because he hath loosed my cord and afflicted me, they also have loosed the bridle before me. Upon my right hand rise the youth, and they push away my feet. They raise up against me the ways of their destruction. They mar my path. They set forward my calamity. They have no helper. They came upon me as a wide breaking in of waters. In the desolation they rolled themselves upon me. Terrors are turned upon me. They pursue my soul as the wind, and my welfare passes away as a cloud. And my soul is poured out upon me. The days of my affliction have taken hold upon me. My bones are pierced in me in the night season. My sinews take no rest. By the great force of my disease is my garment changed. It bindeth me as the collar of my coat. He hath cast me into the mire. I am become like dust and ashes. I cry unto thee, and thou dost not hear me. I stand up, and thou regardest me not. Thou art become cruel to me. With thy strong hand thou opposest thyself against me. Thou liftest me up to the wind. Thou causest me to ride upon it, and dissolvest my substance. For I know that thou wilt bring me to death, and to the house appointed for all living. Howbeit he will not stretch out his hand to the grave, though they cry in his desolation. Did not I weep for him that was in trouble? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? When I looked for good, then evil came upon me. And when I waited for light, there came darkness. My bowels boiled and rested not. The days of affliction prevented me. I went mourning without the sun. I stood up, and I cried in the congregation. I am a brother to dragons, and a companion to owls. My skin is black upon me. My bones are burned with heat. My harp also is turned to mourning, and my organ into the voice of them that weep. Wow. Now when we consider how very high Job was, and how very low the Lord has brought him, and the great conundrum is this: is this because Job has sinned? No, it isn't because he sinned. He doesn't understand why this has happened. He has no understanding of what God has said to Satan and what Satan has said to God. He just knows. He knows his affliction. He knows he hasn't forsaken the Lord his God. He knows that he has remained through all of this a righteous man. He has not charged God with folly. He has been faithful to the Lord his God. What a man. Well, God bless you. Look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.